guys, welcome back for another lesson. This lesson I'm going to teach you how to do the half double crochet. It's basically in between the single crochet and the double crochet, but it's still very important that you learn and master the single crochet and the double crochet before you do the half double crochet. Now the half double crochet, it does take more yarn than the single crochet because you're adding more yarn into it. And also another thing about the double crochet is if you use it like a double crochet where you will do 2 chains, like you would do 2 chains before starting your next row of double crochets, it can tend to make the half double crochet kind of stretch a little bit, where you have a little bit of a string here and then you have your stitch on top of the string, which is how I usually find after a while, whatever I've made with the half double crochet, this tends to happen to it. It'll like separate a little bit, and then the stitch itself will bunch up to the top of the stitch, leaving you with a little bit of a string underneath. So if that's the look you're going for, then that's great. Kind of a lacy alternative to the double crochet, but I don't. I prefer to have my half double crochets just make my project be warmer. So like in the single crochets where you would just go up 1, and like I showed you in the last tutorial where I showed you the difference between the double crochet and the spacing versus the single crochets. Half double crochets are going to be thicker like the single crochets, but it can be even warmer in some ways because you're using more yarn. But that's only if you use a chain 1 with it instead of versus the chain 2. So I'm going to teach you the way that I prefer to use the half double crochet because I think it's better. So first you want to make your slip knot, and then you want to pull that up here. There you go. Okay, now we got our slip knot, and then as always you're going to chain to begin your stitch. Now I know when you first begin you just practice going through the loops like this. Now that's great, and you're getting you're working your crochet a lot better. But now I want you to practice a little bit on not making your beginning chain so tight. You want to try to do what's called a slightly looser chain. So even if you have to pull up on your loop, not that much, but that's just to show you, pull up slightly before making your next chain, just to give yourself just a little bit bigger of a chain. And later on, if you want, you can actually go up 1 size bigger hook just to make the beginning chain, and then switch back to your smaller size hook to actually start your crocheting. Now the reason why I'm telling you about this is because later on when you start to crochet bigger projects, having the chain be tighter like that, especially in hats and stuff, this done normal, doing your chain normally without focusing on keeping it loose will cause just this chain to be tight, and the rest of your hat will be another size, but this chain will be like really tight around like the person's head. So in order to keep your chain the same width as the rest of your projects, and you don't have it going like this because your chain's much tighter than the rest of your project, try to focus on doing what's called a loose chain, a looser chain. So just try to stay focused and pull your loop up slightly before pulling through. It's going to keep your chain much looser. So count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, I'm going to have 8 chains. Okay, once you have your 8 loosely done chains, to do the half double crochet, you want to count 2 chains down from your hook. Remember, the first chain you can't go in anyway, so that one's counted as 1, and then the second one, the very first one you can start working in, is 2. And this is the one we're going to be going in. Now, like the half double crochet, you're going to have to yarn over first, and then go into the stitch. And then you want to yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops that's on your hook. And unlike the double crochet, you won't be pulling through 2 and then yarning over and pulling through 2. You're just pulling through all 3 of the loops. So you're going to go through just the very next stitch, pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, pull through all 3 loops. Again, yarn over just like the double crochet, go into the stitch and pull up a loop. But instead of yarning over and going through only 2, you'll be going through all 3. Now you treat the half double crochet like a single crochet. You will only do a chain 1 when starting your next row. The only thing that it does is makes this stitch thicker. It's like a thicker single crochet, and it has its own look. And it's a very nice way to make a thicker, warmer, whatever you're making. So it's a single crochet with a loop in the middle. It's the ultimate in between the double crochet and the half double crochet. Now the reason why you don't want to do a chain 2 instead of a chain 1, you don't want to treat it like it's a double crochet, because then when you get to the end of your row, you want to chain 1 and not 2, because if you chain 2, it gives you too much of a step up, and your half double crochets will actually separate a little bit. I find this happens to a lot of things that I do. I used to do half double crochets on, so I recommend to not do a chain 2 when starting your next row, but just do a chain 1. Treat it as though it's a single crochet. The only difference is you yarn over before you go into the stitch. Now again, this chain 1, unlike the single, just like the single crochet, the chain 1 is typically not counted in patterns. So unlike the double crochet where you did a chain of 2 and you counted that as your first stitch and you moved to the second one, the half double crochet and the single crochet are always worked in the first stitch. So you'll yarn over, you'll go right into the first stitch and start to work your half double crochets. And you will just continue this down the whole way. And again, I recommend counting your stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stitches. So you'll be counting the same when you go down your row. So that's 1, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we need 1 more stitch. Here is the last stitch of the row. Make sure that you're going under the correct stitches, because see this back one here on a half double crochet, let me get a little closer here for you. The back stitches here on the double crochet, if you look at it, if you look at it like this from the back, it kind of looks like the stitches here. But if you turn it slightly, you'll see that it's a trick. That's a trick. These 2 are not the stitch. Tilt it this way. Those 2 are the stitch. This one little loop back here is trying to trick you, and it happens with the half double crochet. So you want to make sure on your very last stitch of the row that you tilt it sideways. See, it's like an optical illusion. That looks like it, but if you turn it, you see the true 2 stitches you're supposed to go under. Go under those 2. Whoops, I forgot to yarn over first. Go under those 2, and then that is your final half double crochet of your row. And see how it has its own little look. It's a bit different from the single crochet, so it's a pretty stitch to use for other things if you want to start practicing, if you got the half double crochet and the single crochet down. And again, with the half double crochet, chain 1, turn, and then you will work your first half double crochet in this first stitch, and then keep continuing to work down till you get to your end. So to note, only chain 1, work your first stitch in the first stitch, and watch out for that tricky optical illusion on the end that you get sometimes with the half double crochet. And that's it. Let me back up a bit. Keep practicing that. Make sure that you can keep your ends even, and then I would say you're ready to move on to the next lesson.